Hello and welcome back to Stroke by Stroke. Today I want to talk about watercolor pencils, and there is a photo. It's probably showing right now. I'm gonna have to put it in post, but both of those paintings are actually examples of using watercolor, liquid watercolor. I particularly really like the M. Graham watercolors, and also these Derwent watercolor pencils. And we're going to try different kinds of papers today too. And also I wanted to share, I have this, may be difficult to see, but there's 3 different kinds of tips that I can get. This is a pencil sharpener, and it was supposed to be rechargeable, but it wasn't. It works on a USB, so I have my extension cord up here at the top, and I have USB connections, so I just have that up there for right now. So, oops, hello. I want to talk a little bit about the packaging of this, of these watercolor pencils, because it is phenomenal. In 2015, when my then husband and I moved from Indiana to New Mexico, I was in a wheelchair because I had shattered my ankle. That was sort of the beginning of some of my major health problems that I have these days. Anyway, so I came in a different car. My best friend took me in my car, and my husband followed a day later in a huge Penske truck. Somewhere in Missouri, he lost control and flipped the truck. And so everything we owned ended up getting thrown across the interstate. And I had these, a lot of art supplies, but because of the packaging of these, you can see it's seen better days because it went through the wreck. But the watercolor pencils, these are different kinds because I've been using them for a while, so I was out of some. But anyway, you can see that the pencils survived without any trouble whatsoever. So I do highly recommend the packaging for these Derwent watercolor pencils. And also I like these because they don't have a waxy feel like some watercolor pencils do, and they truly turn into watercolor. So they're expensive, especially the 72 set, which is what I got. I got these years and years ago, probably in 2013. And I think at that time I may have spent about $50 to $75 for the set. I have no idea what they are today. Probably much more expensive. But I wanted to show you how I use these. So I'm going to start I'm going to use my hot press. This is Arch's hot press watercolor paper. And I'm going to try to zoom in here so you can see the painting better. So now that I have this on the paper, this is going to be very different than what I usually do, because I don't know if you've watched any of my other videos, you will see I am quite a fan of wet on wet. Whoops. So sorry. Anyway, I am quite a fan of wet on wet watercolor technique, but this is going to be vastly different. This is going to be drawing. I'm going to start drawing first, and whoops, hello. I have butterfingers today. Okay, so this is a Derwent watercolor pencil, and this is Copper Beach, and it's number 61. So I'm going to create just a tree trunk here, and I am actually pushing very lightly, and you'll see I've got this was in my last video too, it bled through on a previous painting, so meh, okay, whatever. So I'm just putting in the trunk, and then I'm gonna come over here and just do that. Now, whether this turns out being a tree or not, I honestly couldn't tell you. And I I am kind of famous for, when I was in grad school in my art therapy program, a theme came out, and I did not intend necessarily for this to be the theme, but apparently I like to put things in the middle of a tree, and so I became known as making tree vajayjays. Not something I consciously do. It's just, to me, this is a very nice shape for to put into a tree, so I do that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do what I know, and I'm just going to blend this a little bit here, and now I'm going to do that on both sides. Okay, and then I'll do, these will be like channels in the trunk, things like that. So I'm just putting something in here so I can really just show you what this does. So, and I'm gonna go to the other colors and choose a different one. Let's go with something that, okay, this is Van Dyke Brown that I'm going to be using. I am so sorry that I keep hitting that. I still haven't figured out how to use this holder very well. But anyway, this is Van Dyke Brown number 55 Derwent watercolor. And I'm going to come in here, and you'll see this is darker, and I'm just laying in some lines. You'll see here in a few minutes when I start adding water why I'm just laying a little bit in here, because this will actually, it is very soluble. I'm not sure how to say that word anymore. Ever since my stroke, my words have gotten very different. So, yeah. Anyway, so just some lines. And let's see here, one more color. Let's go with something warmer. Let's go with this. What is this? Ah, okay. This is Venetian Red, and it is number 63 Derwent watercolor. And it's going to be much redder than the other browns that I've been using, and that's okay. And you'll see I'm doing this very, very lightly, and if you're trying to do something like this, do not push down really hard. If you do, the lines will stay. So if you crease the paper, basically. Okay, so there we have some stuff to start playing with. And now I'm going to come in here. I'm going to use one of my round brushes. And I'm going to go with kind of a medium size on this. And this is size 8. So it's not small, it's not big. And this is clear water that I'm using. And so I have my paper towel ready. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to touch. See how that turns into a wash. And I need to work fairly quickly, because when it dries, it becomes less soluble. Okay. But yeah. And by adding different colors in the beginning, they can blend together. Add more water. And there you can see how it's not nearly as red on that side? I don't know if that's showing on the camera very well, but I have a cat over here on my table, the table that's next to my art table, and I think he's trying to rearrange everything for me. How nice of him. He's the reason I can't have nice things. I actually have 6 cats and a dog. So, yes, my nice things are definitely up for animal inspection. So, anyway. And one thing I really do like about the watercolor pencils is that it's very controlled, but then it can become very, very loose. And I just love that aspect of watercolor pencils. And see, the more I work it, the more the lines are disappearing. So, yeah. But that gives you an idea, okay? And then, of course, I like to put something in the opening of the tree here. So, and remember, this is not wet yet. If it's wet, then this will bleed, okay? So now I'm just gonna like put something like that. And in order to keep it from becoming a vajayjay, like it always does, because normally I would put like a pink or a red or something in there, let's go more with like a blue so that we can make like a green when these actually blend together. And this is blue-gray, and I'm going to use my sharpener, which I'm so sorry was touching the holder. And I have this set, by the way, to a pencil point, not a dull, because I like points personally, because I can use the side of the pencil if I want. I'm going to put this up here this time, so maybe it isn't going to hit the holder. So anyway, now I can come in here with very, very light strokes. And I'm just following the shape I've made for myself. That's one thing to pay attention to when you are doing a picture, any kind of picture, abstract, realistic, surreal, more like this, whatever. You are creating the rules as you go for the image, and things need to make sense within the world that you've created, not necessarily, you know, reality, but definitely in the world that you've created. So there I've very lightly put this blue-gray in here, and because I can't help myself, I am actually going to come in here with a burnt carmine, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, carmine I think, and I'm just going to lightly in here just give it a little bit of definition. Okay. All right, and now I'm going to use a smaller brush because I want to have a lot more control. And this is a size 1, so much, much smaller brush. And now I'm just going to come in here and wet this and get this to do its thing. I'm starting with the blue. You can start wherever you want. If you were making this picture and you wanted to start with the yellow, then by all means, start with the yellow. Okay? You're going to get different effects, doing things in different orders, and sometimes just playing is all it needs. So I'm just coming in here and wetting this gray blue. Okay. And remember, the kind of paper I'm using is going to matter as well. And hot press is not necessarily the kind of paper that most watercolor artists are going to use. Generally, it's going to probably want to be that, what do you call it? Cold press. It's up to you, but I just wanted to show you something a little bit different. And it's not making too much green until I go out here into the blue, bring it out into the blue. And even then, it's not a huge green because I'm being careful in what I'm doing. I want to blend, but I don't want to come out with like a really bright green. And just like regular watercolors, if I want, I can use more liquid, and then I can come back in with a dry brush, and I can lift. And I just lifted some of the yellow there. I don't know if that's showing very well, but yeah. Okay. So there's that. And here, I'll show you what happens. I'll use some orange. Let me find a nice orange. Okay. This is an orange chrome. And this is damp now because I just did that. And see, I don't know if you can see, but I'm actually moving the pigment with my finger. And now I'm going to come over this. See how much darker it is? That's what happens if I use watercolor pencil on damp paper. Vastly different. And now I'm going to come over here because this is really a test. This is what it looks like. And I'm giving the same kind of pressure. Okay? So just very, very light. And it's coming in very dark because it's actually already interacting with the water. So now I'm going to come in here. And normally, if you use blue and orange together, it's going to create kind of a mud color because they're opposite each other on the color wheel. But because I'm using watercolor pencils, that is not happening. And you'll see I've used the watercolor pencil on damp paper, and it's not moving as much. And that's because it was wet when it went down. So that's just something to know is going to happen with this. So I'm going to switch over here now and do something very, very similar. I don't know if I will use the exact same colors or not, but I'm going to do, this is cold pressed water or paper. Okay. So I'm going to just put this right here on top and basically do the same kind of thing that I just did a minute ago, but now on a different paper, and you'll see it's not a huge difference, but it's a difference. And there's the Copper Beach. That's what I started with last time. So I'll just come in here. Okay. And I'm, again, just moving very, very lightly on the paper. And it's okay if it's not on center, because this is my world. I get to make it be whatever I want it to be. And so, yeah. But I don't know if it's showing very well, but you can definitely see the texture. Okay. And now I'm going to come in here, and you may hear my dog in the background who thinks if anybody is moving around outside that they are a terrible threat. Okay, here's the Van Dyke Brown again. So I'll come in here. All right, and let's see here, I'll do some more. Okay, and now I'm going to see if I can find, what was it, Venetian red, I think? Is that what I was using? Well, I know I used burnt carmine as well. Venetian red, where did you go? Oh no, I can't find it. Yeah, it's all right. We'll use this little burnt carmine. So this is going to look very different because I'm using stuff in different places, okay, than I was before. And that's okay, you know, I mean, I'm not personally a fan of doing things that are like production type stuff. Like when I did pottery, I didn't do pottery. I didn't do production pottery. Oh, here's the Venetian red. I found it. I preferred to do things that were one of a kind. And that's how I feel about this too. And I prefer doing things out of my imagination than things using a tutorial, you know, or not a tutorial. I said that wrong. Like my aphasia. Still lifes. I personally get pretty bored with them, but that's just me. I also don't generally use reference photos. So now I'm getting ready to do the just plain water. And you're going to see how it looks on this kind of paper. And I'm starting again with my size 8 brush. And the lines are wanting to stay a little bit more. I can blur them out if I want, but this paper with the texture, it actually puts the pigment down differently because of the texture. So it's really good to know these things before you do your picture, because it might do something that you're just not expecting. That's why I recommend, if you care about what your artwork looks like, and to be honest with you, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If I'm doing it just like yesterday, that was just to try and shift a mood, then frankly, it's all about the process of painting. And I do that a lot more than I do to try and make a quote-unquote beautiful painting. But that's just me, okay? I do it more for mental health reasons than aesthetic reasons usually. Because I'm disabled and don't have to worry about trying to do this for money or anything like that. I can just express myself. And that's exactly what I'm doing. All right. So there's that. And now let me come in here. I can't remember what colors, oopsie, I used. What did I use? Oh yeah, it was that gray blue. Blue-gray, excuse me. So yeah, I'm going to come in here, and instead of, well, actually I'll do it the same way just so you can see. So here I'm using, this is deep cadmium, and it's number 6. I don't think I told you that in the last one. And so now I'm just going to put in the center color, and I'm going to come in here and add the blue. And to me, the superpower of watercolor pencils is if I want very easily. So I'm going to just make this a little lighter here in the center. So I do this a lot when I'm doing watercolor pencils. I will make it darker on the end. I'm pushing a little bit harder, not very hard, and then much lighter as I come toward the center. So you can see what that will do. And I'm actually going to make it like super dark here at the bottom, or at the top. Okay. Now I'll do it at the bottom too, just so you can really see the difference. And I'm only doing it on the one side because, I can. Okay, now I'm going back to my size 1 brush. And there you can see how it's going to do the gradation. And I'm going to come from the other end because it's going to have more pigment on the brush. And as I work my way up, it's going to have less pigment. And now I actually cleaned off my brush a little bit and just have water. So there's a very simple and easy way of doing a gradation. Okay. And now the other side doesn't have that same kind of gradation, although I tend to do it naturally. Okay. And now I'm going to add the water on the middle, on the yellow. And you don't have to use expensive watercolors to do this. You know, watercolor pencils like the Derwents. You can use cheap ones. In fact, I recommend it if you're learning how to do stuff. Now, I don't know if you can see, but it's actually blending the colors together a little bit differently. Whoop, well, that was quite a bit of water. Yeah, I'm just going to let it do its thing there. I actually kind of like that. I didn't necessarily mean to do that, but I'm going to go with it. Okay, so when I look at them together, of course this one has the orange in it, but you can see how different it looks. Let me move a bunch of stuff out of the way here. So sorry that I'm going to hit the holder, but I want you to see kind of side by side best I can. Because of course I put them in the middle. Now I'm gonna angle and zoom out. So there you can see the differences. Okay, so same materials, different paper, different look. Okay. And then I will do my tour around just so you can see the details. And then I will stop with a photograph. So this has been Stroke by Stroke. Do what makes you happy and go out there and play.